Colton Brennan came to Wyoming with $1,200 and a dog that had saved his life 6 times. The people of Pine Ridge called the land he inherited a graveyard with a mailbox. They were wrong. Bishop stopped at something that couldn't exist, a military rail car from 1979, 38 miles from the nearest track. Inside, 200 lives waiting, and a truth no one dared speak. Miracles don't ask permission before they arrive. The Ford F-150 cut through December old like a blade through winter silence. 247 miles. Colton had counted every one. His hands gripped the steering wheel at 10 and 2. Old habit. SEAL habit. The kind that kept you alive when everything else wanted you dead. Gray-blue eyes tracked the road ahead. Not watching. Hunting. For threats that weren't there anymore. The scar at his right temple caught the morning light. Small. Clean. The kind you got when shrapnel kissed you instead of killed you. He wore the same clothes he'd worn for 3 days. Olive field jacket with elbows worn thin. Red and navy flannel beneath it. Cargo pants the color of old moss. Brown leather boots that had walked through sand and snow and blood. The watch on his left wrist didn't tell time anymore. Just ticked. A rhythm he'd learned to breathe by. In the passenger seat, Bishop sat perfectly still. German Shepherd, 7 years old. Black and tan coat thick against the cold. Ears up, forward, locked on something outside the window. The dog hadn't relaxed since they crossed the Montana border. A long scar ran down his left side. Cobble, 2018. The same day Bishop saved Colton's life for the 3rd time. The tactical harness across his chest was faded navy. No patches, no tags. Just a handle on top. For extraction. For control. For the moments when words wouldn't work. Bishop's breathing was slow. Controlled. Not a pet. A partner. Colton glanced at him. Easy. The dog's ears flicked. Acknowledged, but he didn't stand down. Ahead, a sign emerged from the white. Pine Ridge, Wyoming. Pop, 7A or 2. Eastensville, 1891. Colton let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. The town appeared like a photograph left too long in the sun. Faded, worn, leaning into the wind. Main Street ran 2 blocks. Wooden storefronts with chipped paint. A diner with a neon sign that flickered even in daylight. One gas station that looked like it doubled as a hardware store and gossip exchange. A few trucks parked at angles. All American. All old. Colton pulled into the gravel lot outside Maggie's diner, engine ticking as it cooled. He sat there, staring at the door. Bishop turned his head, looked at him, not asking, observing. Yeah, Colton muttered, I know. He stepped out into cold that bit through the jacket. 18 degrees, maybe colder with the wind. The air smelled like wood smoke and diesel and something older. Pine sap frozen in the bark. Earth that hadn't thawed since October. Bishop jumped down beside him, moved close to Colton's left leg. Tactical position. They walked toward the diner. Inside, warmth hit like a wall. Coffee, bacon grease, something baking in the back. 6 people scattered across red vinyl booths. All of them over 60. All of them stopped talking when the door opened. Colton felt their eyes, measuring, judging. An older woman behind the counter looked up. 55, maybe 60. Tired eyes, hair pulled back in a bun that had given up trying. Sit anywhere, hun. Colton took a booth in the back. Bishop sat beside the table. Not under it, beside it, watching the room. 2 ranchers in the booth nearest the window leaned toward each other, voices low, not low enough. That him, gotta be, Samuel's nephew. Poor bastard, inheriting that cursed land. Ain't land, it's a coffin you can walk on. The first man snorted. 3 people died up there before Samuel. Then Samuel himself, froze to death in the snow. Wolves dragged half the livestock into the trees. Boys inheriting a money pit with ghosts. Colton didn't react, kept his face still. Blank. He'd heard worse. In places where worse came with bullets. The waitress walked over. Brenda, according to the name tag. She set down a laminated menu. Coffee. Please, she poured, steam rising between them. You're Samuel Brennan's nephew. Not a question. Yeah. Brenda studied him. Not unkind, just careful. You planning to stay up there? Thinking about it. She shook her head, slow, like she was watching him step into traffic. That land, 3 people died before your uncle. Then Samuel. Folks say it's cursed. Colton met her eyes. I don't believe in curses. Brenda's mouth tightened. Belief don't change what's true. She walked away. Colton stared into his coffee. Black, no sugar. Bishop shifted beside him, a small movement, attention redirected. Colton followed the dog's gaze. The two ranchers were still talking. Louder now, meant to be heard. Selah heard, came back broken. PTSD, saw it in my cousin after Iraq. They don't come back right. And he's got that dough. Terry, do you know what those things are trained to do? Colton's jaw tightened, muscle working under the skin. Bishop's ears rotated, tracking the voices. But his posture didn't change. Trained, disciplined, waiting for the command that wouldn't come. Brenda returned with a plate, eggs, toast, 2 sausage links. She set it down, then placed a second plate on the floor. 2 sausages, plain. For the dog. Colton looked up, something like gratitude in his eyes, rough around the edges. Thanks. Bishop leaned forward, sniffed the sausages, paused, sniffed again, then turned his head away. Colton blinked. Brenda stared. He don't want them. Guess not. Bishop sat perfectly still, staring at the wall, offended dignity radiating off him like heat. Brenda let out a short laugh. Well, first time I've seen a dog turn down breakfast. Colton almost smiled. Almost. He's picky. Clearly. She walked away shaking her head. Colton ate in silence. Bishop watched the room. 2 soldiers in a place that didn't want them. Nothing new. When Colton paid, Brenda handed him change in a folded piece of paper. Road up to Brennan Land is rough. 4-wheel drive only. Don't go up after dark. Wolves. Colton nodded. Outside, the wind had picked up. Snow swirling across the gravel like white ghosts. Bishop jumped into the passenger seat. Colton climbed behind the wheel. He sat there, engine idling, staring at the mountains. Blackwood Ridge rose in the distance. Dark, heavy, like something crouched and waiting. Last chance to turn around, Colton said quietly. Bishop didn't move, just stared ahead. Yeah, me neither. Colton put the truck in gear and pulled onto the road heading north, toward the land Samuel left him, toward whatever waited in the snow. The road turned to gravel 3 miles outside town, then dirt, then something that might have been a road once. The F-150 climbed, slow, steady, 4-wheel drive biting into frozen mud and ice, trees closed in on both sides. Douglas fir, thick, old, branches heavy with snow that hadn't been touched by wind or sun. The light changed, thinner, gray, like dusk even though it was barely noon. Colton's hands stayed locked on the wheel, eyes scanning, reading terrain the way he'd been trained. Elevation 7,200 feet, temperature dropping, visibility maybe 100 yards. Bishop's ears pricked forward, focused, not relaxed, alert. Colton glanced at him. What do you hear? The dog's breathing stayed even, but his posture tightened, muscles coiled. Something was wrong, not danger. Not yet. But wrong. Ahead the gate appeared, rusted iron, leaning to one side, held up by a single hinge that had outlasted hope. A wooden sign hung from a chain. Half the letters were missing, but Colton could still read it. Brennan Land, no trespassing. Eston, 1923. Bullet holes peppered the wood. Old, rust-edged. Colton stopped the truck, stared at the sign. 101 years, 4 generations. And now it came down to him, a man who couldn't even keep his own squad alive. He pushed the thought down, deep, where all the other thoughts went to die. Bishop suddenly stood, rigid. A low growl rolled through his chest, not loud, just present. Colton's hand moved toward the glove box. Stopped. No weapon. He didn't carry anymore. Couldn't trust himself with one. Easy, boy. Bishop's growl didn't stop. Colton scanned the trees. Nothing moved, but the air felt different, charged, like the moment before contact. He got out. Cold slammed into him, breath fogging. The gate groaned when he pushed it open, metal scraping frozen ground. He climbed back in, drove through. Behind them, the gate swung shut. Slow, final. The road wound higher, narrower. Snowdrifts piled against the trees. Bomb. No tracks, no footprints, nothing that said anyone had been here in months. Bishop suddenly barked, sharp, explosive. The first sound he'd made since Montana. Colton hit the brakes. The dog launched himself out the open window before Colton could react. Bishop! But the dog was already gone, running west, disappearing into the white. Colton threw the truck into park, grabbed his coat, stumbled out into knee-deep snow. Bishop, stay. The command echoed, swallowed by the trees. No response. Colton ran, boots punching through the crust, lungs burning in the thin air. He could see Bishop ahead, black and tan shape weaving through the pines, not chasing prey, tracking. Colton followed, branches whipping his face, snow finding every gap in his clothing, his heartbeat hammered, not from exertion, from memory. Kandahar, 2017, Night Patrol. Bishop running ahead, stopping, barking. Tango 6, we have contact. Execute, execute, execute. The explosion, the screaming, Torres and Sullivan never coming home. Colton shook his head, hard, pulled himself back. Here, now, Wyoming. Bishop stopped. Colton caught up, gasping, bent over with hands on his knees. When he looked up, the air left his lungs. It shouldn't exist. That was Colton's first thought. His second was quieter, more dangerous. Samuel knew. The military rail car sat in a clearing 40 feet wide, snow piled against its sides, trees pressing in like they were trying to hide it, 40 feet long, maybe 12 feet high. The paint was faded olive drab, military green from another era. Stenciled letters across the side barely visible, DODX-47182, Department of Defense, experimental authorized personnel only. The windows were covered, welded shut with steel plates. The door was solid, reinforced. A padlock hung from the handle, cut, recently. The metal was bright where the bolt cutters had bitten through. Colton moved closer, slow, every sense firing. Bishop stood in front of the door, hackles up, not growling now, just waiting. Colton knelt beside him. You smell something. Bishop's nose worked the gap under the door, frantic, controlled. Colton reached for the handle, stopped. Something inside him screamed, walk away, get in the truck, leave. But Bishop was here, and Bishop didn't stop unless there was a reason. Colton grabbed the handle, cold burned through his glove. He pulled. The door screamed, metal on metal, rust and age fighting movement. It slid 6 inches, 12, 2 feet, light spilled inside. And Colton froze. The rail car wasn't empty. Cages lined both walls, stacked 3 high, steel mesh, clean, organized. Inside the cages, animals, dogs, cats, rabbits, chickens, a pair of goats in the back, 200, maybe more, all alive, all watching him. Colton's breath caught. This wasn't abandonment. This was care. Fresh water in the dishes, food scattered in the bowls, straw clean and dry. Someone had been here, recently. Bishop stepped inside, calm now, moving between the cages like he was inspecting troops. The animals didn't panic, didn't bark or hiss or scatter. They watched the dog, quiet, familiar, like they knew him. Colton stepped inside. The air was warmer here, not heated, but insulated, protected. He walked down the center aisle, taking it in. A filing cabinet stood against the far wall, green metal, military issue. Beside it a desk, folding table really, covered in notebooks. Colton opened the top drawer of the cabinet. Files, hundreds of them. He pulled one at random. A photograph slipped out. A Dachshund, German Shepherd, thin, ribs showing, eyes clouded white, blind. Written on the back in shaky handwriting. Found March 12, 2018. Lab 4B reject. Apex said euthanized. Lied. Colton's hands shook. He opened another file. Cats, 12 of them, patchy fur, chemical burns visible on their skin. July 22nd, 2020, 47 total. Apex reported disposed, rescued from incinerator truck. Another file. A little girl, maybe 9 years old. Blonde hair, blue eyes wide with fear, standing in this very rail car, surrounded by animals. February 15th, 2021. Lily survived, only one. Can't let them find her. Colton set the photo down, carefully, like it might shatter. His throat was tight. On the desk, a cassette recorder set half buried under papers. Old. Sony, the kind from the 80s. A tape was still inside. The battery indicator showed 8%. Colton pressed play. Static hissed, then a voice. Rough, tired, scared. His uncle's voice. Cole, if you're hearing this, I didn't make it. Colton's chest constricted. Apex isn't just burying toxins. They're testing on living things. Dogs, cats, rabbits, and, God forgive them, children. A long pause. Breathing. Ragged. I found 12 kids in Lab 4B. 11 didn't survive the trials. Lily, she's the only one, 9 years old. I hit her. They think she's dead. If they find out, another pause. I exposed the burial sites, sent evidence to the EPA. They're coming for me now. I can hear them outside. 3 days until the hearing. I won't make it. The voice cracked. Cole, I know you carry guilt. I know you think you fail everyone. But you didn't fail. You survived. And survival means something. If you have a dog, listen to it. Dogs know things we don't. They see what we're afraid to. Protect the evidence. Protect Lily. And Cole, don't run. Not this time. A crash. Loud. Close. Samuel's breathing sped up. They're here, Cole. They're... The tape stopped. Silence swallowed the railcar. Colton stood there, hands still on the recorder. Bishop pressed against his leg. Solid, warm, real. Outside a sound. Faint, distant. An engine. Colton's head snapped up. He moved to the door. Looked out through the gap. Through the trees, maybe 100 yards out, a shape moved. A truck. Black. Diesel. Dodge Ram 2500. Driving slow. Searching. Colton pulled back, heart pounding. Bishop's ears went flat. The truck stopped. A door opened. Footsteps. Crunching snow. Colton pressed himself against the wall, barely breathing. The footsteps came closer. Stopped. Right outside the rail car. A shadow fell across the gap in the door. Colton's fists clenched. Then the footsteps moved away. The truck door slammed. The engine roared to life. Slowly the sound faded. Colton waited, counting heartbeats. 60, 90, 120. Finally he moved to the door, pushed it open. The clearing was empty. But in the snow, fresh tire tracks cut deep ruts, circling the railcar. Whoever it was, they'd been looking. And now they knew someone was here. Bishop stepped out beside him, scanned the trees. Colton looked down at the dog. Samuel knew, he said quietly. He knew they'd come. Bishop's tail dropped, stiff, vertical, ready. Colton pulled the door shut, as much as it would move. He turned toward the trees, toward the cabins somewhere beyond, toward whatever his uncle had left him. Not just land, a war. And this time Colton couldn't run from it. Come on, boy, he whispered. Together they walked into the white. Behind them the railcar stood silent, holding 200 secrets, and one truth no one was ready to hear. The cabin materialized through the snow like a memory half forgotten. Single story, log construction, roof sagging on the left side where decades of Wyoming winters had pressed down and never let go. One window was boarded, another cracked. The porch steps were uneven, worn smooth by boots that would never climb them again. Samuel's truck sat beside the cabin, a 1987 Chevy K10, rust eating through the wheel wells, tires flat, windshield thick with dust and ice. Colton stopped at the edge of the clearing. Bishop stood beside him, still, watching. Smoke rose from the chimney, thin, gray, recent. Someone was inside. Colton's pulse quickened. Not fear, recognition, the feeling before contact, before the world split into before and after. He moved forward, slow, deliberate. Bishop stayed at his left hip, tactical spacing. The porch groaned under Colton's weight, wood protesting. He reached for the door. It opened before he touched it. An old woman stood in the doorway, late 60s, maybe older, white hair pulled back in a loose bun, face weathered like canyon stone, eyes pale blue, sharp. She wore a heavy wool coat over flannel, work gloves, boots caked with snow and something darker, mud or manure. She looked at Colton, no surprise, no fear, like she'd been expecting him. You're Colton. Not a question. He nodded slowly. Samuel said you'd come. Her voice carried the weight of too many winters, too many losses counted alone. Who are you, Patar? Doctor. Adelaide Whitmore. Your uncle asked me to watch the place, watch the animals. She stepped aside, gestured toward the interior. Come in. Cold's getting worse. Colton hesitated, old instincts screaming. Never enter an unknown structure. Always clear the room first. Always maintain exit routes. But Bishop stepped inside without pause. The dog trusted her. That was enough. Colton followed. The cabin's interior was sparse. Functional, a wood stove in the corner, a table, 2 chairs, a cot against the far wall, everything neat, military neat. Samuel's discipline still visible 3 years after his death. Dr. Whitmore closed the door, locked it, chain and deadbolt. She moved to the stove, poured coffee from a dented pot into 2 mugs, set one in front of Colton. Sit. He sat. Bishop lay down beside the stove, close enough to feel the heat, far enough to watch the room. Dr. Whitmore settled into the opposite chair, wrapped both hands around her mug. You found the rail car. Yeah. Then you know what Samuel was doing. Colton nodded. Saving animals. Hiding evidence. Not just animals. Her eyes locked onto his. Lily. The name hung between them. The girl in the photo. Yes, 12 years old now. She was 9 when Samuel found her. February 15th, 2021. Lab 4B had an incident. Explosion. Chemical leak. Apex reported 12 test subjects deceased. Children. Dr. Whitmore's voice didn't shake, but her knuckles went white around the mug. 11 died. Lily survived. Hid in the ventilation system for 6 hours. Samuel was doing a midnight supply run. He heard her crying. He brought her here. Yes, Apex filed death certificates, paid off the families, sealed the records. As far as the world knows, Lily Grace Harlow died February 15th, 2021. Colton felt something cold settle in his stomach. She's been hiding for 3 years. Almost 4. Samuel kept her safe, fed her, taught her to care for the animals. She didn't speak. Trauma. Selective mutism. But the animals responded to her. They trusted her. Dr. Whitmore set down her mug. After Samuel died, I tried to reach her, but she disappeared deeper into the forest. I still see signs, footprints, food missing from the rail car. She's alive, but she won't come near people. Only animals. Only animals. Silence settled. The stove ticked. Wind pressed against the windows. Colton stared into his coffee. Black, bitter, like everything else. How did Samuel die? Dr. Whitmore's face hardened. March 17th, 2021. He was preparing for the EPA hearing. Had evidence, photographs, soil samples, testimony from former Apex employees. She stood, walked to the window, stared out at the white. They found him at the base of Red Canyon Cliff, 200-foot drop. Sheriff ruled it accidental, said Samuel slipped on ice while hiking. But he didn't. Samuel was a mountain guide for 30 years. He didn't slip. She turned, met Colton's eyes. They pushed him, and they made it look like the land finally got him, like the curse everyone talks about. Colton's jaw tightened. Apex. Victor Callahan specifically. He handles community relations, which means he handles problems, quietly. And the sheriff does what he's told. Apex employs 200 people in this county. You don't bite the hand that feeds. Colton stood, walked to the window beside her. The forest stretched endlessly, white, silent, hiding everything. Why didn't you go to the FBI State Police? With what Samuel's evidence burned in a barn fire 3 days after he died. Convenient timing. The animals are just animals. Lily is legally dead, and I'm just an old woman who talks to us. Her voice cracked, just slightly. I've kept them alive, the animals, for 3 years, waiting. Samuel said someone would come, someone who wouldn't run. She looked at Colton. He said you'd know what to do. Colton shook his head, slow, heavy. He was wrong. I'm good at failing, not fixing. He didn't think so. He didn't know me. Dr. Whitmore studied him, reading something in his face. You're afraid you'll fail them, like you think you failed before. Colton's throat tightened. Kandahar, the radio, the explosion, Torres and Sullivan in flag-draped coffins. I know I will. And yet you're still here. Colton didn't have an answer for that. Bishop stood, walked to the door, ears up, alert. Dr. Whitmore frowned. What is it? The dog growled, low, continuous. Colton moved to the window, pulled back the curtain. A black Lexus ES rolled into the clearing. New, expensive, out of place. It stopped beside Samuel's old Chevy. The door opened. A man stepped out. Late 40s, tall, lean, steel gray hair styled precisely. Charcoal suit under a wool overcoat. Leather gloves. Briefcase. He looked at the cabin, smiled. Not warmth, calculation. Dr. Whitmore whispered a single word. Callahan. Colton watched through the gap in the curtain. Callahan walked toward the cabin, unhurried, confident, like he owned the ground beneath his feet. Bishop's growl deepened. Stay, Colton said quietly. The dog obeyed, but his body remained coiled. Ready, a knock, 3 sharp raps. Dr. Whitmore looked at Colton. I'll go. No, I will. Colton opened the door. Callahan stood on the porch, smile in place. Practiced. Professional. Mr. Brennan, Victor Callahan, Apex Biotech Community Relations Director. He extended a gloved hand. Colton didn't take it. Callahan's smile didn't falter. He lowered his hand smoothly. No offense taken. I wanted to offer my condolences. Samuel was a pillar of this community. Was he? Absolutely. His loss was deeply felt. Not enough to investigate it properly. Callahan's eyes sharpened, just for a moment. Then the smile returned. The sheriff conducted a thorough review. Tragic accident. These mountains are unforgiving. So I've heard. Silence stretched between them. Callahan shifted the briefcase to his other hand. May I come in? It's quite cold. No, another flicker. Controlled. Suppressed. Of course, I won't take much of your time. I'm here with an offer. Apex would like to purchase Brennan land. Not interested. You haven't heard the terms. Don't need to. Callahan's smile thinned. Mr. Brennan, you've inherited 50 acres of undeveloped wilderness. No power, no water, no road access beyond that trail. The land has significant complications. What kind of complications? Tax liens, zoning violations, environmental concerns. The county has been lenient given Samuel's situation. But now that the estate is transferring, he let the sentence hang. Colton stared at him, flat, unreadable. How much? $575,000, cash. Immediate transfer. You could relocate somewhere more manageable. Somewhere your PTSD might be better accommodated. Colton's hands curled into fists. Callahan noticed. His smile widened slightly. I'm not trying to offend. I have tremendous respect for your service. But this land, he gestured at the forest, it's not suitable for someone in your condition. The isolation, the memories, PTSD requires community support, therapy. This place offers none of that. Bishop stepped forward, positioned himself between Colton and Callahan, low growl vibrating through his chest. Callahan's eyes dropped to the dog. Something shifted in his expression. Not fear, distaste. That's a military dog. Yes. German Shepherd, combat trained. Yes. Wyoming law permits landowners to neutralize dangerous animals on private property. If that animal were to display aggression, he didn't finish, didn't need to. Colton's voice came out quiet, cold. He's reacting to a threat. I'm hardly threatening. He disagrees. Callahan's smile disappeared entirely. Mr. Brennan, let me be clear. This land has complications you're not aware of. Apex has significant infrastructure in this region. Pipelines, research facilities, buffer zones. Your presence here creates legal complexities. Sounds like Apex's problem. It becomes your problem when the county starts enforcing codes, when the tax assessor reviews the property, when environmental surveys identify contamination that requires remediation, costs that could easily exceed $500,000. You threatening me? I'm offering you a solution. Take the money, start fresh somewhere else. Everyone benefits. Accept the truth. Callahan's eyes went flat. What truth would that be? The one Samuel died protecting. For 3 seconds, neither man moved. Then Callahan's smile returned. Colder now, sharper. Samuel was a troubled man, paranoid. He made accusations that couldn't be substantiated. It's unfortunate his delusions led to his accident. They weren't delusions. Can you prove otherwise? Colton didn't answer. Callahan nodded slowly. I didn't think so. Mr. Brennan, I'll leave my card. When the county starts the enforcement process, when the costs start mounting, call me. The offer stands for 30 days. After that, he shrugged. After that, the land will be seized for back taxes. Apex will acquire it at auction for considerably less. You'll receive nothing. He set a business card on the porch railing. 30 days. Think carefully. Callahan walked back to the Lexus, unhurried, confident. Before getting in, he turned. One more thing. That dog. If it displays aggression toward any person in Pine Ridge, the sheriff has authority to impound it. Military dogs are considered weapons under state law. Just something to consider. He climbed into the car. The Lexus rolled out of the clearing, disappeared into the trees. Silence rushed back in. Bishop's growl finally stopped. Colton stood on the porch, staring at the card, embossed letters, heavy stock. Victor Callahan, Apex Biotech, Community Relations. Building tomorrow's solutions today, Dr. Whitmore appeared beside him. He just threatened everything Samuel fought for. Yeah. What are you going to do? Colton looked down at Bishop. The dog sat perfectly still, watching the road where the Lexus disappeared. I don't know yet, but he was lying. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He just didn't know if he'd survive it. That night, Colton packed 2 duffel bags, everything he owned, clothes, sleeping bag, the folder containing his discharge papers, $1,200 in cash, Samuel's cassette tape. Bishop watched from beside the stove, not moving, just observing. Colton worked in silence, efficient, practiced, the same way he'd packed before every deployment. Except this time he was deploying away, running again. Doctor. Whitmore had gone back to her house in town. She'd return in the morning to feed the animals. Colton would be gone by then. He zipped the second bag, set it beside the door, looked around the cabin one last time. Samuel's life reduced to dust and shadows. We're leaving at 0600, Colton said quietly. Bishop didn't move. Colton walked to the window, stared out at the darkness. The rail car was out there, somewhere into the trees. 200 animals, waiting. Lily, somewhere in the forest, alone. Samuel's voice on the tape, don't run, not this time. Colton's hands shook. He pressed them flat against the cold glass. I can't do this, he whispered. I can't save them. I couldn't even save my own men. Bishop stood, walked to Colton, pressed against his leg, solid, warm, real. Colton looked down. The dog stared up at him, not judging, not comforting, just present. You know what happens if we stay, Colton said. Callahan won't stop. They'll come after the evidence, after Lily, after you. Bishop's tail lifted slightly. We could leave, drive to Montana, Colorado, start over, like we planned. The dog turned away, walked to the door, sat, facing it. Colton frowned. Bishop, come. The dog didn't move. Bishop? Nothing. Colton walked over, knelt beside him. We have to go. There's nothing we can do here. Bishop turned his head, looked toward the window, toward the forest, toward the rail car, then looked back at Colton. The message was clear. No. Colton's throat tightened. You want to stay. Bishop's ears went up. You can't be serious. This isn't our fight. The dog stood, walked to the duffel bags, sniffed them, then walked back to the stove. Lay down, refused to look at Colton. Colton sat on the floor, back against the wall, stared at his partner. 7 years, 6 saves, Kabul, Kandahar. The firefight in Helmand, where Bishop took shrapnel meant for Colton's throat. The dog had never disobeyed, never refused, until now. You think we can win this? Bishop's ear twitched. You're wrong. We're 2 against, what, a corporation, the sheriff, the whole damn town. The dog closed his eyes, done arguing. Colton laughed, bitter, broken. You're insane. But he didn't move toward the bars. Instead, he stood, walked to the window. Dawn was still hours away, but he could see the rail car in his mind. The animals watching, waiting. Lily, 9 years old when Samuel found her, 12 now, alone, silent, afraid. Samuel's voice. Survival means something. Torres and Sullivan, dead because Colton made the wrong call, but they'd trusted him anyway, right up until the end. Colton turned, looked at Bishop. If we do this, it's all the way. No running. Not again. Bishop's tail thumped once against the floor. Agreement. Colton walked to the bags, unpacked them, slowly, every item going back where it came from. When he finished, he sat beside the dog, put a hand on Bishop's head. You're going to get us killed. Bishop leaned into the touch. Colton closed his eyes. For the first time in 3 years, the weight on his chest eased, just slightly. Not gone, but bearable. Okay, he whispered. We stay. Outside, the wind shifted. Snow began to fall, covering tracks, erasing the past, making way for whatever came next. Morning came gray and cold. Colton woke to Bishop's nose pressed against his face. The dog's breath smelled like wood smoke and snow. I'm up. Bishop backed away, sat, waited. Colton dragged himself upright, every muscle protesting. The cabin was freezing. Fire had died sometime in the night. He rebuilt it, slow, methodical, fed Bishop, made coffee, sat at Samuel's table planning something he had no business planning. If they were staying, they needed fortification, shelter, supplies, information. The cabin was compromised. Callahan knew where it was. They needed a secondary position. Colton pulled out the topographic map Dr. Whitmore had left, traced the property lines, the ridges, the approaches. There, a plateau, 800 yards northwest. Good sight lines, defensible. He'd set up a camp. Basic. Enough to bug out if Callahan came back. By noon, Colton was sweating despite the cold. He'd hauled tent poles, stakes, a tarp, sleeping gear. Bishop supervised, occasionally offering opinions through head tilts and strategic positioning. Colton set the first pole, adjusted the angle, set the second. The tent sagged, badly. One side drooped at 30 degrees. The other side compensated by leaning 15 degrees the opposite direction. Colton stepped back, stared. That's functional. Bishop sat, tilted his head, exactly 30 degrees, matching the tent's angle. His expression radiated judgment. Colton blinked. You're criticizing my shelter. Bishop's head tilted further, now 45 degrees. The universal dog expression for this is a disaster. Colton looked at the tent, looked at the dome, back to the tent. It'll hold. Bishop stood, walked away, lay down 20 feet distant, faced away from the tent, refusing to acknowledge its existence. Colton almost laughed. First time in 3 years. Fine, I'll fix it. He spent another hour adjusting, tightening, restaking. The tent eventually stood mostly upright. Mostly. Bishop inspected it, sniffed the entrance, walked inside, walked out, sat, one ear up, one ear down. The dog equivalent of, I suppose this will suffice. Colton shook his head. You're worse than my drill instructor. Bishop's tail thumped once. High praise. They spent the rest of the day organizing. Food, water, first aid, the cassette recorder, Samuel's notebooks, everything they'd need if things went sideways. And things would go sideways. Colton knew that like he knew his own heartbeat. As the sun dropped toward the mountains, Colton sat outside the crooked tent. Bishop lay beside him. The forest was silent, still, waiting. We need to find Lily, Colton said quietly. Bishop's ears pricked forward. If Callahan knows she's alive, she's in danger, and we need her testimony. The dog stood, looked toward the trees. Something in his posture changed. Alert, focused, tracking something Colton couldn't see. What is it? Bishop took 3 steps forward, stopped, looked back at Colton, then forward again. The message was clear. Follow. Colton stood, grabbed his coat. Together they walked into the forest. The light was fading fast, temperature dropping. But Bishop moved with purpose, following something. A scent, a sound, some signal Colton's human senses couldn't detect. They walked for 20 minutes, deeper into the trees, further from anything marked on the map. Then Bishop stopped, sat, looked at a cluster of Douglas firs. Colton saw nothing. What am I looking for? Bishop didn't move, just stared. Colton approached the tree slowly, scanned the shadows. There, a small shape pressed against the base of the largest tree, barely visible in the failing light. A girl, 12 years old, blonde hair tangled with pine needles and snow, blue eyes wide. Feral, clothes that had been patched and repatched, jacket too big, boots held together with duct tape. Lily Grace Harlow, legally dead, actually alive, and terrified. Colton froze. Every instinct screamed at him to move slowly, carefully, like approaching an IED. One wrong move and everything detonates. Lily. The girl didn't respond, just stared at him with eyes that had seen too much. Colton knelt, lowered himself to her level. Non-threatening. My name is Colton. I'm Samuel's nephew. Nothing. She didn't run, but she didn't relax either. Coiled, ready to bolt. Colton glanced at Bishop. The dog sat perfectly still, watching. Colton tried again. Samuel. He left me the land, the rail car, the animals. Lily's eyes flickered. Recognition. I know you've been taking care of them. Dr. Whitmore told me. The girl's breathing quickened. Fear or anger, hard to tell. I'm not here to hurt you or take you away. I just want to help. Lily's mouth moved. No sound came out. Selective mutism. Trauma response. Her voice stolen by what Apex had done. Colton's chest tightened. 9 years old. 12 children in Lab 4B. 11 didn't survive. What had this girl seen? Bishop stood. Moved forward. Slow. Deliberate. Colton started to call him back. Stopped. Let the dog work. Bishop approached Lily. Sat 3 feet away. Lowered his head. Submissive posture. Giving her control. Lily stared at the dog. Then slowly she extended one hand, fingers trembling. Bishop leaned forward, pressed his nose against her palm, warm, gentle. Lily's face crumpled. 3 years of holding everything inside. 3 years of silence. It broke. She lunged forward, wrapped both arms around Bishop's neck, buried her face in his fur, and sobbed, silent, shaking, the kind of crying that comes from a place deeper than sound. Bishop didn't move, just held steady, let her break against him. Colton looked away, gave her privacy. After a long time, the crying stopped. Lily pulled back, wiped her face with a dirty sleeve, looked at Colton, still afraid, but less, marginally. Colton spoke quietly. "You're safe, I promise." Lily shook her head, sharp, certain. No one is safe. She pulled a small notebook from her jacket pocket, flipped to a blank page, wrote in shaky letters, "They killed Samuel. They'll kill you too." Colton read it, nodded slowly. "Maybe, but I'm not running." Lily stared at him, wrote again. Why Colton looked at Bishop, at the girl who'd survived impossible odds, at the forest hiding 200 animals that should be dead. Because someone has to stay. Lily's eyes searched his face, looking for the lie, finding something else instead. She wrote one more line. "They hurt the animals. They hurt the kids. They'll hurt more." She turned the page, showed him a drawing, pencil sketch, crude, but clear. A laboratory, cages, children strapped to tables, needles, tubes, masks. Lab 4B, drawn from memory, by a 9-year-old who'd watched her friends die. Colton's hands clenched. "You remember everything." Lily nodded, wrote, "I remember all of it, all 12 of us, what they did, what they said. I'm the only proof." She looked at him, 12 years old, carrying testimony worth killing for. Colton understood now. Why Samuel hit her, why he died protecting her, why Callahan couldn't let this land go. Lily wasn't just a survivor, she was a witness, and witnesses were dangerous. "We're going to stop them," Colton said quietly. Lily shook her head, wrote, "You can't, they're too big." "Maybe, but we're going to try anyway." Why Colton looked at the drawing again, at the children who didn't survive. "Because you did, and that means something." Lily stared at him for a long moment, then wrote, "Samuel said someone would come, someone who wouldn't run." "Are you him?" Colton's throat tightened. Was he the man who failed Torres and Sullivan? The man who'd been running for 3 years? Bishop pressed against his leg. Solid, certain. "Yes." Colton met Lily's eyes. "I'm going to try." Lily closed her notebook, stood, looked toward the forest, then back at Colton. She pointed toward the east, where the railcar waited. Bishop stood, ready to follow. Colton rose. Together the three of them walked through the darkening trees, toward 200 animals who needed protecting, toward evidence that could bring down Apex, toward a fight Colton had no business winning. But Bishop believed, and Lily hoped, and that would have to be enough. Behind them the first stars appeared, cold, clear, unforgiving, watching what came next. The gathering storm. December in Wyoming didn't ask permission. It took. The sky turned the color of old bruises 2 days after they found Lily. Purple-black clouds rolling over Blackwood Ridge like smoke from a battle already lost. Colton stood outside the cabin, watching. His legs still throbbed, the burns healing slow. Each step a reminder of what fire cost. Bishop sat beside him, nose lifted, reading the air. The dog's posture had changed. Tense, anticipatory. Something was coming. Not just weather. Dr. Whitmore's truck pulled into the clearing. She climbed out, moved fast for a woman her age, face tight with worry. "Radio says lightning storm, dry lightning, no rain." Colton's jaw tightened. Dry lightning in winter. Rare. Dangerous. The kind that started fires in places fire shouldn't exist. When tonight, maybe sooner. Western Ridge is under red flag warning. She looked at the sky, then at him. The animals need to be moved. If fire starts near the railcar, there's no time. No water source. Nothing to stop it. Colton knew she was right. But moving 200 animals in a lightning storm was suicide, and they had nowhere to move them to. The cabin couldn't hold them. The barn Samuel had used burned 3 years ago. Apex made sure of that, 3 days after Samuel died. Convenient timing, always convenient. "We need help," Dr. Whitmore said quietly. "Who's going to help? The town thinks we're crazy. Callahan owns the sheriff. Everyone else is too scared to." "Not everyone." She pulled out her phone, showed him a text from Eli Santos, 61. Former Marine, owner of the feed store in Pine Ridge. "Heard you're staying. Weather's coming. If you need hands, I'm in. Wade 2. Below that another text from Wade Fisher, 58, rancher. Lost his daughter to cancer 5 years ago. Apex promised Emily treatment, promised experimental trials. She died waiting in a hospital room while they buried evidence. Whatever you're doing up there, count me in. I've got trailers. Colton stared at the messages. Two men, veterans both of them, different wars, same scars, against a corporation, against weather, against impossible odds. It wasn't enough. But it was more than he'd had yesterday, more than he'd had in 3 years. Tell them to bring trucks, trailers, anything that can carry livestock, and tell them to hurry. Dr. Whitmore nodded, started typing. Bishop suddenly stood, ears locked forward. A low rumble built in his chest, not aggression, warning. Colton turned. The western sky had gone black. Not gradually, instantly, like someone dropped a curtain. Thunder rolled across the mountains, deep, sustained, the kind that rattled bones and shook windows. Then the first bolt, white hot, splitting the sky in half. It struck a ridge 2 miles west. A dead pine exploded, flames erupting from the trunk like a match struck in the dark. Colton's heart kicked hard against his ribs. It's starting. Another bolt, closer this time. This one hit a Douglas fir 1/2 mile out. The tree didn't explode. It ignited. Top to bottom in 3 seconds, a 100-foot candle burning against the black sky. Wind picked up, cold, fierce, unnatural, pushing the flames east, toward Brennan Land, toward the rail car, toward 200 lives that couldn't run. Dr. Whitmore grabbed Colton's arm, her grip surprisingly strong. We have to go, now. They ran. Colton, Dr. Whitmore, Bishop, through the forest, boots crunching frozen ground. Colton's burned legs screaming with every step. He ignored it. Had to. The sky strobed, lightning every 10 seconds now. Thunder constant, overlapping. A war drum that never stopped. Smoke appeared on the wind, thin at first, then thicker. The smell hit. Pine resin burning. Chemical. Wrong. Like the smell of burning plastic mixed with Christmas trees. Bishop ran ahead, leading, not panicked, purposeful. The dog knew where they needed to be. They broke into the clearing where the rail car sat. Eli Santos was already there. Ford F-250 backed up to the door. Livestock trailer attached. Wade Fisher beside him. Older Chevy with a dual-axle trailer. Empty and waiting. Both men looked at Colton. No questions, no judgment, no hesitation. Just ready. Eli nodded once. Tell us what you need. Colton felt something shift in his chest, not hope. Something steadier. Purpose. We load the small ones first, he shouted over the rising wind. Rabbits, cats, chickens, anything that can stack in crates. The dogs and goats last. They can walk if we run out of space. Eli moved to his truck bed. Got 30 crates, wire mesh, should hold. Wade pulled work gloves from his pocket. Let's move. They worked. Fast. Colton yanked open the railcar door. Inside, the animals were restless, eyes wide, ears back. They smelled smoke, knew what it meant, knew what was coming. Bishop entered first, calm, controlled. His presence settled them, slightly, just enough. Colton grabbed the first cage. Rabbits, 6 of them huddled together. Ran it to Eli's truck. Came back. Another cage. Cats, 4. Hissing but not fighting, Wade took it. Loaded it with practiced hands. Dr. Whitmore worked the birds. Chickens clucking frantically. Ducks silent with fear. 2 geese that hissed but didn't bite. They fell into rhythm. Grab, run, load, return. No wasted motion, no wasted breath. The sky kept splitting. Closer now, each bolt brighter than the last. Flames visible through the trees. Orange fingers reaching. Smoke thickened, gray turning to black. Colton's lungs burned. Sweat froze on his face despite the effort. He lost count of trips. 15, 20, 30. His shoulders screamed. The burned leg nearly buckled twice. Kept moving. Had to. Bishop worked beside him, herding the dogs that could walk, guiding them gently toward the trucks. Calm, steady, never faltering. Even when ash started falling like snow. Then Lily appeared. She'd been hiding deeper in the forest, watching from her usual spot. But now she ran toward them, face streaked with ash and fear. Eyes wide but determined. She grabbed Colton's arm to rearm, pointed west. He turned. The fire was a wall now, 200 yards out. Moving fast. Too fast. trees exploding as the flames hit them, superheated air turning wood into torches. "We're out of time," Wade shouted, sweat pouring down his face despite the cold. Colton looked at the rail car, still half full, goats bleating, dogs pacing, the larger animals that took more time. 60, maybe 70 left. "We can't leave them." "We don't have a choice," Eli said, voice tight, hating the words as much as Colton did. "Fire's going to be here in 5 minutes, maybe less. We stay, we all burn." Colton looked at Bishop. The dog stared back, then turned, ran toward the fire, straight toward it. Bishop Boripa, but the dog didn't stop, didn't hesitate. Colton's world narrowed to a single point. Not again, not the dog, never the dog. He ran, after Bishop, into the smoke, into the heat, into hell. Dr. Whitmore screamed his name. Eli grabbed for his arm. Missed. Colton didn't stop. Couldn't. Bishop had saved him 6 times, 7 counting yesterday. Now it was his turn. Into the flames. The smoke was a living thing, thick, choking, blinding. Colton pulled his shirt over his mouth and nose, kept running, following the dark shape ahead. Bishop, always ahead, always knowing something Colton didn't. The dog knew something, sensed something. Colton just had to trust it. Trust him. Heat slammed into him like a physical wall. Intense, immediate, overwhelming. The fire was close. 50 yards, maybe less. Flames climbed trees like they were racing each other to the sky. Ash fell like snow, gray flakes that burned when they touched skin. Embers danced on the wind, dozens of them, each one a potential new fire. One landed on Colton's jacket, started to smolder. He slapped it out without breaking stride, kept moving. Then he saw what Bishop was running toward, a section of the rail car, the back third, separated from the main structure. Must have broken off during the original derailment, 40 years ago in 1984, hidden by undergrowth and 40 winters of accumulation, covered in vines and fallen branches. Colton had never seen it, had no idea it existed. But Bishop had. Somehow the dog had known. The dog stood at a rusted door, scratching, whining, the sound desperate, urgent. Colton reached him, grabbed the door handle, pulled, rusted, stuck, frozen by decades. He braced his good leg, yanked hard, metal screamed. The door gave, 6 inches, a foot, enough. Inside in the darkness, 4 dogs, blind, all of them, eyes clouded white with chemical burns. Lab 4B rejects. The one Samuel's journal mentioned it on the first page. Found March 12, 2018. Lab 4B rejects. Apex said euthanized. Lied. They were huddled together, terrified. They couldn't see the fire, but they could smell it, feel it, hear it roaring closer. Colton's heart broke and hardened simultaneously. "Come on, come here, it's okay." The dogs didn't move. Couldn't. Too afraid. Too traumatized. Years of abuse had taught them that moving meant pain. Bishop entered the rail car, moved between them with careful precision, calm, certain. He nudged the first one, gentle, patient. The dog stood, tentative, shaking. Bishop guided it toward Colton, then the second dog, third, fourth. Colton grabbed them as they came, lifting, supporting, dragging when he had to, anything to get them moving. Behind him, a tree exploded. Not caught fire. Exploded. Superheated sap turning to steam, blowing the trunk apart. Flames erupted in a column 30 feet high, 20 yards out now, maybe less. The heat was unbearable. Colton's eyes watered, vision blurred, skin blistering on his exposed hands. He got 3 dogs out, stumbling, gasping, turned for the 4th. Bishop was still inside, standing over the last dog. The dog wasn't moving. Too old, too weak, too scared. Given up. "Bishop, leave it. We have to go, now." The dog looked at him, made a decision, grabbed the blind dog by the scruff of its neck, started dragging. A beam overhead cracked, old, dry, burning, weakened by 40 years and 5 minutes of fire. It fell, 200 pounds of flaming wood and metal, straight toward Bishop. Everything slowed. Colton could see it falling, could see Bishop beneath it. Could see the moment before impact. He lunged, shoved the dog hard as he could. Bishop tumbled out the door, the blind dog with him. Both clear. The beam hit, caught Colton's left leg. The already burned leg pinned him. Pain exploded, white hot, all-consuming, beyond anything he'd felt in Kandahar, beyond anything he'd imagined. He screamed, once, then bit it back. Teeth clenched so hard his jaw cracked. The beam was burning, flames spreading, his pants caught, fire climbing. He tried to move it. Couldn't. Too heavy. Too much. His vision blurred, gray creeping in at the edges. Smoke inhalation or shock. Didn't matter. Bishop appeared in the doorway, grabbed Colton's jacket with his teeth, pulled, straining, growling with effort. Not enough. The dog couldn't lift 200 pounds. Physics didn't care about loyalty. Colton's vision darkened. This was it. He was going to die here, like Torres, like Sullivan, like he deserved. At least Bishop would make it out. At least then hands, human hands, strong, calloused. Eli Santos on his left, Wade Fisher on his right, lifting the beam together, grunting with effort. On three, Eli gasped. 1, 2, 3, hey. They heaved, the beam lifted, shifted, rolled off Colton's leg. Wade grabbed him under the shoulders. Eli took his legs. They dragged him out, away from the rail car, away from the flames. Bishop ran alongside them, never leaving. The world spun, sky, ground, fire, smoke, all mixed together in a kaleidoscope of pain and chaos. He felt himself being carried, heard voices shouting, Bishop barking. Then the world tilted sideways and went dark. The price of survival. Colton woke to pain in motion. The pain was immediate, specific, left leg. The motion was the bed of Eli's truck bouncing over rough road. He tried to sit up. A hand pushed him down, gentle but firm. Dr. Whitmore's face swam into focus above him. Don't move. Legs burned. 2nd degree on top of the previous burns. Could be 3rd in places. Could be worse if you thrash around. They were moving fast. Too fast for the terrain. The truck's suspension groaning. Colton turned his head. Bishop lay beside him, panting hard, tongue lolling, fur singed along his entire left side. Left ear scorched, the tip gone, soot covering his muzzle, but alive, breathing, present. The 4 blind dogs they'd saved huddled together against Bishop's belly, seeking comfort, protection, finding it. The others, Colton rasped, voice like gravel and smoke. We got them, Wade's voice from the driver's seat, tight with adrenaline. Every single animal, all 200. Eli and I went back for the last load while you were... He didn't finish, didn't need to. The fire, still burning, but it hit the creek bed, stopped there, took 40 acres, maybe more, but it stopped. Dr. Whitmore unwrapped the bandages on his leg, winced, started cleaning, each touch agony. Colton gritted his teeth, refused to make a sound. 40 acres, gone, but 200 lives saved. He'd take that trade every single time. His leg throbbed in pulses that matched his heartbeat. Each one a reminder, each one a price paid. Dr. Whitmore worked quickly, efficiently. Clean bandage, burn cream, antibiotics from a first aid kit. You're an idiot, she said quietly, running into fire like that. Had to. No, you chose to. There's a difference. She met his eyes, hers were wet. Samuel would have done the same thing. Exactly the same damn thing. Colton didn't answer. Couldn't. The truck hit a bump. Pain spiked. He gasped despite himself. Bishop whined, low, concerned, distressed. Colton reached out, ran his hand over the dog's head, careful around the burned ear, around the singed fur. Good boy, he whispered. Good boy. Bishop's tail thumped, once. Weak. But there. Even through the pain, Colton noticed something. Bishop had positioned himself directly on top of Colton's backpack. The backpack containing Samuel's cassette tape, the notebooks, the evidence, protecting it. Even now, even burned and exhausted, duty before comfort. You're guarding evidence, Colton rasped, in the middle of everything. Bishop's tail thumped again. Priorities. Dr. Whitmore shook her head, small smile breaking through the worry. That dog has his head on straighter than most people. Wade laughed from the front seat, short, sharp, the kind of laugh that keeps you from crying. The truck slowed, stopped. They were at Dr. Whitmore's house, small, blue, at the edge of Pine Ridge. Eli and Wade carried Colton inside, set him on the couch, careful, gentle, like moving something that might shatter. Bishop limped in behind, refused to be carried, wouldn't leave Colton's side even to save his own strength. Lily appeared in the doorway. She'd ridden in Wade's truck with the animals, face streaked with ash and tears. She saw Colton, saw the bandages, saw the blood seeping through. Her face crumpled. She ran to him, buried her face against his shoulder, silent sobs shaking her small frame. Colton wrapped one arm around her. "It's okay. We're okay." She shook her head against his chest, pulled back, grabbed her notebook, wrote with shaking hands, "You almost died. You almost died saving dogs you didn't even know existed." Why Colton looked at the four blind dogs, huddled together on a blanket Dr. Whitmore had spread. Safe now, confused but safe. "Because they deserved it," he said quietly. "Because someone had to. Because if I didn't, I'd be just like the people who hurt them." Lily stared at him, then wrote, "Samuel said that too, word for word, before he died." Something tight wrapped around Colton's chest. He looked at Dr. Whitmore. She was setting up an IV fluids, antibiotics, hands steady despite her age. "You need a hospital," she said, not looking at him. "No." "Colton, no hospitals, no records. Callahan can't know we were there. Can't know the animals survived. Can't know anything." She wanted to argue. The logic was obvious. But she understood. She'd lived this for 3 years. If Apex knew they'd saved the evidence, knew the animals still existed, knew Lily was still alive, they'd come. Hard, fast, final. "Best I can do then," she said quietly. "Keep it clean. Change the dressing twice daily. If infection sets in, it won't." She sighed, tired, old, the weight of 3 years finally showing in her shoulders. "We can't keep hiding them forever. The animals. Sooner or later someone will notice, someone will talk, and Callahan will find out." "I know." Eli stepped forward, arms crossed, jaw set. "So what's the plan? We can't just sit here waiting for Apex to make the next move." Colton looked at Lily, at the notebook in her hands, at the girl who'd survived impossible odds, who'd witnessed unspeakable things, who'd stayed silent for 3 years to stay alive. "We stop hiding," he said. "We go public." Dr. Whitmore frowned. "How the sheriff's bought. The town's afraid. Media won't touch it without proof." "We have proof. Samuel's recordings, the animals, Lily's testimony." "Testimony," Wade's voice was gentle. "Colton, she doesn't speak. She writes." Everyone turned to look at Lily. The girl shrank back slightly. Colton kept his voice soft. "You remember everything, don't you? What they did, what they said, names, dates, procedures, everything that happened in Lab 4B. Lily nodded slowly, small movement, terrified. "Would you be willing to write it down, all of it? Everything you saw?" Her hand trembled. The notebook shook. She looked at the four blind dogs, at Bishop lying beside Colton, at Dr. Whitmore who'd kept her secret, at Eli and Wade who'd risked their lives for animals they'd never met. She opened the notebook, started writing. Not words, just yes. Then she kept writing, page after page, details pouring out, 3 years of silence breaking. Eli stepped forward, voice low. "You're talking about going after Apex, directly, head on." "Yes. They'll crush you. They've got lawyers, money, connections all the way to Washington." "Maybe." Wade uncrossed his arms, pulled out his phone. "You'll need more than testimony. You'll need someone who can't be bought, someone outside the system. FBI. Takes too long. Federal bureaucracy moves like molasses. Apex has lawyers who'll tie it up for years, decades maybe." "Then who?" Wade showed Colton his phone screen. "A contact. Rebecca Torres, EPA, Criminal Investigations Division, Denver Field Office." Colton's heart stopped, literally stopped for a full second. "Torres," Wade nodded, slow, sad. "My daughter, she's been investigating Apex for 2 years. Ever since Samuel first contacted the EPA, she couldn't prove anything. Files kept disappearing, witnesses recanting, evidence vanishing. But if you have what I think you have," Colton stared at the name. "Torres, same name as his teammate, Ryan Torres, 24 years old, dead in Kandahar because Colton gave the order. Could be coincidence. Could be the universe pushing. Could be something else entirely. Either way, it felt like a sign, a second chance wearing a familiar name. "Call her," Colton said. Wade nodded, stepped outside, made the call. Colton leaned back against the couch, pain radiating through his leg in waves. Bishop rested his head on Colton's chest, breathing slow, steady, the kind of breathing that said everything would be okay, even when it wouldn't, even when it couldn't, but pretending anyway, because that's what you did. Lily kept writing, page after page, her hand moving faster now, testimony in cramped handwriting. The truth Apex had buried, the truth that 12 children died protecting. Dr. Whitmore made coffee, strong, black, army strong. She handed Colton a cup. "You know this doesn't end well," she said quietly. "Probably not. Callahan won't let this go, even if the EPA comes, even if they investigate, even if they prosecute. Men like him don't lose gracefully. They burn everything on the way down." "I know. So why?" Colton looked at the blind dog sleeping against Bishop, at Lily writing testimony with shaking hands, at Eli and Wade standing guard at the windows, at people who'd chosen to stand when running was easier, safer, smarter. Because someone has to. Dr. Whitmore studied him, read something in his face, then nodded. Samuel said the exact same thing, the night before he died. Wade returned, face carefully neutral. "She's coming. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Wants to see everything. The rail car, the animals, the recordings. All of it. She's bringing a full evidence team." Colton's chest tightened. Tomorrow, one day to prepare, one day before everything changed. One day before the war went public. He looked at Bishop. The dog's eyes were already closed. Trusting, certain, believing with every fiber that this would work, that they'd win. Colton envied that certainty, envied that faith. But he'd fake it for the darn, for Lily, for the animals with no voice. He'd fake it all the way to whatever end was coming. "Get some rest," he said to everyone. "Tomorrow's going to be long." They settled in, Lily curled up in the armchair, still writing. Dr. Whitmore dozed at the kitchen table. Eli and Wade took turns on watch. Bishop never moved from Colton's side, and outside in the darkness Pine Ridge slept. Unaware that tomorrow everything would change, unaware that the fight Samuel started 3 years ago was about to finish, one way or another. The long night Colton couldn't sleep. Pain kept him awake, sharp, constant, unavoidable. But more than that, the feeling, the one he recognized from deployment, the calm that wasn't calm, just the space between breaths before everything exploded, the quiet before contact. He sat on Dr. Whitmore's porch, 2 a.m. temperature dropping toward zero, leg elevated on a chair, bandages clean. For now, Bishop beside him. The dog's breathing was labored, lungs still clearing smoke, but he refused to rest inside, where Colton wasn't. Stars filled the sky above them, clear, cold, indifferent, watching without judgment. Colton stared at them, thinking about Torres. Ryan Torres, 24 years old. Kandahar, 2017. Night patrol through a village that intelligence said was clear. It wasn't. Ambush, IEDs buried in the road, RPGs from the rooftops, Colton's order. Tango 6 execute, execute, execute. The explosion, Torres died instantly, shrapnel through the chest. Sullivan bled out before the medevac arrived. Femoral artery, 2 lives, 2 friends. Gone because Colton made the call, the wrong call, bad intelligence. Faulty maps, incomplete briefings. None of it mattered. He gave the order, they died. Simple math. He'd carried that weight for 3 years. Let it crush him, destroy him, drive him to places like this. Edges of maps where death felt closer than life. But now, looking at Bishop, at Lily sleeping inside, at 200 animals alive because they'd stayed, the weight felt different. Not lighter, never lighter, just distributed, shared among people who chose to carry it with him. Maybe that was all survival meant. Finding people to help shoulder the load. Finding reasons to keep breathing. The door opened quietly. Lily stepped out, notebook clutched to her chest. She sat beside him, didn't speak, couldn't, just sat, sharing the silence. After a long moment, she opened the notebook, showed him what she'd written. 73 pages, every detail, every name, every procedure performed on 12 children in Lab 4B, the ones who died, how they died, what Apex did with the bodies, where they buried them, who ordered it, who executed it, who covered it up. Colton's stomach turned, but he read every word. When he finished, Lily flipped to a new page, wrote something fresh. "You asked why I remember everything. I remember because they deserve to be remembered. The 11 who didn't survive. Mia, Jacob, Aisha, Thomas, Sophia, Carlos, Emma, Noah, Lily, Joshua, Grace. If I forget, they disappear. Like they never existed. Like Apex wanted. Colton's throat closed. He nodded. Understanding. She wrote again. Samuel said remembering is a kind of fighting, even when you can't do anything else. You remember. And that's enough, is it? Colton looked at the stars, at the doe who'd saved him 7 times, at the girl who'd survived hell and chose to bear witness. Yeah, he said quietly. It's enough. It has to be. Lily closed the notebook, leaned against his shoulder, trusting. The way children should be able to trust, but rarely can. They sat like that. Man, girl, dog, under stars that had seen worse, and would again. But tonight they were still here, still breathing, still fighting, and sometimes that was all you could ask for. Sometimes that was everything. Rebecca Torres. She arrived exactly at 6 a.m., black SUV, government plates, tinted windows. Rebecca Torres stepped out, late 30s, dark hair pulled back in a severe bun, sharp eyes that missed nothing. Cataloging, assessing, judging. She wore a dark suit, federal badge clipped to her belt, no gun visible, but Colton knew it was there. She looked at the house, at Colton on the porch, leg bandaged, at Bishop beside him, singed and scarred. Her expression didn't change. Professional, controlled. But something flickered when she saw the dog. Recognition. Maybe something more. She walked up the steps, extended a hand. Rebecca Torres, EP at Criminal Investigations Division. Colton shook it. Her grip was firm, confident. Colton Brennan. She glanced at his bandaged leg. Fire. Yeah. Saving Samuel Brennan's animals. Not a question. You know about them. I know everything about Samuel. He contacted me 2 years ago, September 2022, said he had evidence of illegal dumping, chemical testing on live subjects, corporate cover-up at the highest levels. She pulled out a tablet, showed him a file, emails, photographs, soil samples, all dated 2022. He died before I could verify anything. Case went cold, witnesses disappeared, evidence vanished. Someone with significant resources made sure of that. It wasn't cold, Colton said, just buried. Show me. They drove to Brennan Land in convoy, Rebecca's SUV in front, Eli's truck behind with Colton and Bishop. Wade and Dr. Whitmore following with Lily. The burned section of forest was still smoking. Black, skeletal, dead. 40 acres of destruction. But the rail car stood, untouched, protected by the creek and luck in something that felt like providence. Rebecca circled it slowly, taking photographs, documenting every angle, measurements, notes, coordinates. Colton opened the door. She stepped inside, froze. 200 animals. Returned during the night. Eli and Wade had made 3 trips, every single one accounted for. Safe, waiting. Rebecca moved through them slowly, checked tags, read Samuel's notebooks, examined the filing cabinet. Her face remained professionally neutral, but her hands shook slightly when she opened the photographs. When she saw what had been done, when she found the filing cabinet full of evidence, the photographs of chemical burns, the medical records, the testimony, she stopped, turned to Colton. This is everything Samuel claimed, everything I couldn't prove. Yes. Do you understand what this means? That Apex has been killing for profit. That Apex is going to fight hard. They have lawyers, money, political connections. They'll tie this up in court for years. They'll attack your credibility, your military record, your PTSD diagnosis. They'll destroy anyone who testifies. I know. Rebecca pulled out her phone, made a call. It's Torres. I need a full evidence collection team. Brennan Land, Wyoming, coordinates following, expedited processing. Pause. Yes, I'm certain. Another pause. 12 children. Federal jurisdiction applies. She hung up, looked at Colton. They'll be here in 6 hours. We'll seize everything. Animals, documents, soil samples. The entire site becomes a federal crime scene. And then I build a case. Criminal charges, environmental violations, wrongful death, conspiracy. We go after everyone involved, bottom to top. She glanced at Lily standing in the doorway, small, fragile, terrified but present. If she's willing to testify, Lily held up her notebook. All 73 pages. Rebecca took it, started reading. Her face went pale, actually pale, color draining as she read page after page. My God, she whispered. She looked at Lily, really looked, seeing not just a witness, seeing a survivor. You witnessed all of this, Lily nodded, and you're willing to go on record sworn testimony. You understand what that means. You'll have to face them, in court, answer questions, relive everything. Lily's hand shook, but she nodded again, firm, certain. Rebecca's jaw tightened, voice going hard as steel. We're going to destroy them. Callahan's reckoning. The EPA team arrived, 12 people. Vans, equipment, evidence bags, cameras, laptops, soil sample kits. They worked fast, methodical, every animal documented, tagged, photographed, DNA samples taken, chemical analysis of their food, their water, their environment, prepared for transport to federal holding facilities. Temporary custody until the case concluded. Colton watched from a distance. Bishop beside him. The dog was quiet, watching strangers handle the animals, load them into clean crates. Gentle, professional, trusting. Because Colton trusted. By late afternoon, the rail car was empty, just an old military relic. Rusted, abandoned, holding ghosts instead of lives. Rebecca approached. We have enough, more than enough. Federal prosecutor reviewed the preliminary evidence. We're filing charges tomorrow morning. What happens to the animals? Federal custody, best facilities available, full veterinary care. There'll be evidence until trial concludes. After that, she paused. After that, we'll need somewhere for them to go. She looked at Brennan Land, at the burned forest, at the cabin. You planning to stay? Yeah. Good, we'll need you. As if summoned by the conversation, headlights appeared through the trees. The black Lexus, Callahan. He parked at the edge of the clearing, got out slowly, looked at the EPA vehicles, at Rebecca in her federal jacket, at Colton. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. Something broke, or maybe gave up. He walked toward them, calm, controlled. The last performance. Ms. Torres? Mr. Callahan. I assume you have a warrant. Don't need one. Voluntary cooperation from the landowner. She gestured to Colton. Callahan looked at him. You made a choice. So did you, Colton said quietly. 3 years ago, and every day since. Samuel was a troubled man who died tragically. Samuel was murdered, and you know it. Callahan's mask slipped, just for a second, something human showing through, guilt, regret, fear. Prove it. Rebecca held up an evidence bag, soil sample. Toxin levels 40 times legal limits, buried in 7 locations, all on land Apex leased or owned, all matching chemicals from Lab 4B. Another bag. Medical records. 12 children, all deceased within a 14-day period, all listed as accidental deaths, all from families who received sudden substantial financial settlements. Another bag. Testimony from a survivor. 73 pages, detailed, verified, corroborated by physical evidence. She pulled out her phone, showed him the screen. Arrest warrants. Victor Callahan. 3 Apex executives. 2 lab technicians. 1 sheriff. All signed. All active. Callahan stared. For the first time in 3 years, his control shattered. You're destroying 200 on an entire town's economy. Families depend on Apex. Children's futures. Retirements. Everything. You destroyed 12 children, Rebecca said, voice flat, final, and tried to bury it, murdered a man to keep it quiet, poisoned land for profit. Don't talk to me about families. Callahan looked at Colton. You could have walked away, taken the money, $500,000, started over somewhere else. Put this behind you, put your demons behind you. Yeah. Why didn't you? Colton glanced at Bishop, at Lily standing with Dr. Whitmore, at the empty rail car, at Eli and Wade who'd risked everything for people they barely knew. Because someone had to stay. Callahan studied him, then nodded slowly. Samuel said the same thing, word for word, the night before he died. He reached into his pocket, pulled out an envelope, handed it to Colton. He gave me this, 3 days before his death, said if anything happened to him, I should give it to whoever came next, to whoever stayed. Colton took it, heavy, sealed with wax, his name written on the front in Samuel's shaky handwriting. Callahan turned toward his car. Where are you going? Rebecca called. To resign, to confess, to do what I should have done 3 years ago. He stopped, looked back at Colton. I knew you know. I knew what they were doing in Lab 4B, knew about the children, knew about the chemicals. And I did nothing. His voice cracked. Not because I was evil, because I was scared. Scared of losing my chumya, my house, my reputation, my comfortable life. So I let 12 children die, and I killed the one man trying to save them. He met Colton's eyes. I can't undo that. Can't bring them back. Can't give Samuel his life. But I can stop adding to it. Stop letting fear turn me into something worse. Rebecca stepped forward, hand moving toward her badge. We have warrants. You're under arrest. I know. I'm not running. I'll be at the Pine Ridge Sheriff's Office, waiting. He climbed into the Lexus, drove away, didn't look back. Rebecca watched him go. We'll pick him up in an hour. Give him time to settle his affairs. Will it stick the charges? Yes, he knew, he authorized, he covered up, he's complicit in 12 homicides. Accessory to Samuel's murder, conspiracy, environmental crimes. He's going to prison for the rest of his life. She looked at Colton. You did good work here. Colton shook his head. Wasn't me, it was them. He gestured to the people around him. Dr. Whitmore, Eli, Wade, Lily, Bishop. They stayed when I wanted to run. They fought when I wanted to hide. They're the heroes. Rebecca smiled slightly, sad but real. Samuel knew you would, knew you'd be exactly who he needed. How? Because you're his nephew, and Brennans don't run, not when it matters. She walked toward her vehicle. Colton stood there, holding the envelope, feeling its weight. Bishop nudged his hand. Colton opened it carefully. Inside a letter, a photograph, and a key. He read the letter first. Cole, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you're standing on land that's been in our family for 101 years. 4 generations. All the way back to your great-great-grandfather who homesteaded this ridge in 1923. I know you think you're broken, that you failed, that you don't deserve another chance, that everyone you touch gets destroyed. You're wrong. Failure isn't falling, it's staying down. You got up, you came here, you stayed when leaving was easier. That's all that matters. That's everything. The key opens a box, buried under the cabin's north corner, 3 feet down, wrapped in oilcloth. Inside is everything you need to start over. Money, deeds, legal documents, insurance policies, enough to rebuild, to create something new. Use it to build something, not for me, not for the people who need a place to heal, veterans who can't sleep, animals who've been hurt, children who've lost their way. You know who they are. You're one of them. Don't run, Cole. Not anymore, not ever. This is where you stand. This is where you fight. This is where you heal. Samuel Colton's hands shook, tears burning his eyes. He looked at the photograph. Samuel, younger, maybe 30, standing in front of the cabin before it aged. Beside him a woman, dark hair, kind eyes, gentle smile. Colton's mother, dead 20 years, but alive in this moment, frozen in time. Perfect. On the back, written in his mother's handwriting, home is where you stop running, sweetheart, where you choose to stand, where you decide that this time you stay, that this time you fight, that this time love is stronger than fear. Colton closed his eyes, breathed, deep, shaking. For the first time in 3 years, the weight lifted. Not gone, never gone. Torres and Sullivan would always be there. The mistakes, the failures, the nightmares, but bearable now, shared, distributed among people who chose to carry it with him. Bishop leaned against him. Lily took his hand. Dr. Whitmore rested a hand on his shoulder. Eli and Wade stood close. Not crowding, just present. Family, not blood, choice. The kind that lasted, the kind that mattered. Colton opened his eyes, looked at the cabin, at Brennan land stretching into the forest, at the place he'd tried to leave, the place that wouldn't let him go. We're staying, he said quietly. Bishop's tail thumped. Lily squeezed his hand. Dr. Whitmore smiled. A good mind, she said, because we've got work to do. 6 months later, summer came to Wyoming like a promise kept. Green replacing white, warmth replacing cold, life replacing death. Colton stood on the hill overlooking Brennan land, Bishop beside him. The dog was older now, 7.5, gray spreading from his muzzle to his eyes. The burned ear healed but scarred, missing the tip, a permanent limp in his left rear leg, but alive, strong, present. Below them, the transformation was complete. The cabin had been rebuilt, expanded. New roof with solar panels, new porch wrapping 3 sides, accessible ramps, wide doors, everything designed for people carrying invisible wounds. A hand-carved sign hung above the door. Cedar, sanded smooth, letters burned deep. Bishop's Haven Sanctuary for Veterans and Rescued Animals, founded 2025. In memory of Samuel Brennan, someone has to stay. 12 veterans live there now, ages ranging from 60 to 78, men who'd served in Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan, men who came home but never arrived, who won their wars but lost their peace. They worked the land, built fences, planted gardens, repaired structures, cared for animals who understood trauma without words, found purpose in feeding things that depended on them, found healing in silence shared with others who understood. Lily was there too, 12 years old, nearly 13, talking now, slowly, carefully, words hard-won, but talking. She ran the education program, teaching kids from 3 counties how to care for rescued animals, how to recognize trauma, how to offer help without demanding healing, how to just be present. Dr. Adelaide Whitmore supervised all medical care, for animals and humans both. She'd moved into a small cabin on the property, refused to leave even when her daughter begged, said she'd spent 3 years keeping Samuel's dream alive in secret, wasn't about to abandon it now that it could breathe. Eli and Wade helped with construction, building additional shelters every month, expanding capacity, creating space for more broken things to heal. The animals were returned, all 200, after the trial concluded, after Apex collapsed, after the executives went to prison. 15 years for Callahan, 25 for the lab director, life without parole for the CEO, federal charges, wrongful death times 12, conspiracy, environmental terrorism. The trial lasted 4 months, made national news. Lily testified for 6 hours, never wavered, never broke, told the truth in words that finally came. The jury deliberated for 40 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Apex declared bankruptcy. Assets liquidated. Settlements paid to victims' families. The town survived. Barely, but survived. New companies moved in, smaller, cleaner, honest. Pine Ridge adapted, learned to breathe without poison. Rebecca Torres came by monthly, checking progress, documenting recoveries, building case studies. She'd been promoted. Assistant Director, Environmental Crimes Division. Using Bishop's Haven as a model, 47 similar sanctuaries had opened across the country in 6 months. Places where veterans and animals healed together, where survival meant something beyond just breathing, where staying mattered more than leaving. Colton walked down the hill, Bishop beside him, matching his pace, patient with his limp. They reached the main cabin. Lily sat on the porch, teaching 4 kids how to groom a rabbit. Gentle, calm, confident. She looked up, saw Colton, smiled. Real, unforced, beautiful. "Dinner's almost ready," she called, her voice still quiet. But there, "Be right in," Colton called back. Inside, veterans gathered around a long table, conversation low, comfortable, the kind that didn't need to fill every silence, the kind that understood quiet. Colton joined them. Bishop lay beside his chair, head on his paws, watching, always watching. After dinner, Colton walked to the old rail car, still there, preserved now, restored, a memorial, to Samuel, to the 11 children who didn't survive Lab 4B, to everyone who'd fought and lost, their names carved into a copper plaque. Mia, Jacob, Aisha, Thomas, Sophia, Carlos, Emma, Noah, Lily, Joshua, Grace, remembered, honored, never forgotten. Colton sat beside it, Bishop beside him. The sun dropped toward the mountains, gold, orange, red, painting the sky like fire. But this fire was beautiful. This fire was life. Colton pulled out a photograph. Torres, Sullivan, his team, dead in Kandahar, gone but not forgotten. He looked at it, really looked, for the first time in 3 years without flinching, without the crushing weight. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry I gave the wrong order. I'm sorry you trusted me and I failed you." The wind carried his words away. Bishop pressed against him, warm, solid, real, alive because of choices made. Colton put the photograph back in his pocket. But I saved them, the ones who came after. Lily, the animals, the veterans who live here now, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what you'd want. Maybe that's how I honor you, by staying, by fighting, by not running anymore. Bishop's tail thumped once. Agreement. Absolution. Permission to heal. Colton stood slowly, looked at the sanctuary spreading below, at the people who'd chosen to stay, at the animals who'd been given second chances, at the land that had demanded he stop running. Sometimes miracles don't come like lightning, he said softly to Bishop, to the wind, to whoever was listening. Sometimes they come like a dog refusing to get in the truck, like choosing to stay when leaving is easier, like finding people who'll stand with you when standing means everything, like a girl who survived hell and chose to speak anyway, like two old veterans who risked everything for strangers, like land that holds you until you're ready to be held. Bishop stood, looked up at him, ready, tail wagging slowly. Colton smiled, really smiled, the first genuine one in years. Come on, partner, let's go home. Together they walked toward the light spilling from the cabin, toward voices and warmth and belonging, toward laughter and healing and second chances, toward the life Colton never thought he'd have, built on ashes, forged in fire, held together by loyalty, and finally at peace. Behind them the sun touched the mountains. The sky went dark. Stars emerged, watching, witnessing. 200 secrets saved. 12 children remembered, one man redeemed, and a dog who knew all along exactly where they needed to be, exactly what they needed to do. Stay, fight, heal, together.